Cloudcast Media. Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, and it is an honor to have in the studio with us today Jim Jessop of this iconic family in San Diego. It's been around since 1890. Jim is a trustee for the San Diego History Center and the managing partner of the Jessop Clock. And anybody who spent any time in San Diego knows exactly what we're talking about by that unbelievable Jessop Clock. How you doing, Jim?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
No, it's an honor. I was fortunate enough to be involved with the History Center. I'm a steward of the History Center and can't do enough to support you and Bill Lawrence and the 17 zillion other people that are involved in this. I've been in San Diego now. I can't believe I'm even going to admit this here. For 50 years, my goodness, came here to go to San Diego State and pretty much haven't left in this area. So if you don't mind, maybe we can start talking about the history of the Jessop family. 1890, my goodness.
Well, 1890, my great-grandfather came from England. He had health issues, and the doctors told him that he needed to get out of England and get to a warmer climate. He decided to come to San Diego, which has been our good fortune. Like a lot of Englishmen, though, when he was coming from England, he decided that he should own a ranch. So he bought himself some acreage in what was then called Linda Vista, later called Miramar. Really, it's just the other side of 15 from where we're sitting here right now. The problem with that ranch is he was told that there was a well and a cistern on the ranch, and the well always had fresh water, and the cistern would hold enough water to keep his family and his livestock going for a full year. Got here, they didn't have a cistern, they didn't have a well. If you know anything about the Miramar area, there's more rock and gravel than there is soil.
I live in Penasquitas. So
and they simply couldn't live in San Diego. He stayed for about a year and a half, and then he fell back on his trade. Now, his trade was being a watchmaker, and that was his training. And the History Center, San Diego History Center, actually has two of the watches that he made while he was in England, and that would have been about 1880. That those watches were manufactured. He fell back on his trade, and he and his oldest son, Armand, would take the buggy, and they'd ride into downtown, and they would work downtown in a watch store that they opened that they called J. Jessop and Sons. And J stands for Joseph Jessop and Son. They would then spend the night in the store during the week and then go back in the buggy back up to the ranch. I'll put that in quotations because it was anything but a ranch. They finally got the store with enough legs under it that they were able to keep it open and move the family out of the ranch and over to Coronado, which is a whole other story.
Well, I think... first of all, we can talk about this for a while. One of my good friends, and I'm not sure if you know him, I worked with him when he was at San Diego Unified, I think married to Jessop, Bill Fox. How much? Yeah.
Know Bill well.
Yeah. So if you see Bill, tell him Drew says hi, by the way. We worked together for many, many years.
Yeah.
And just a delightful bride as well in this area. But we know the history, or some people know the history of the Jessop family, and thank you for giving a little bit of an overview of this. But you can't think about you folks, besides jewelers and all that business, without this unbelievable clock. Yeah. Talk about the clock. And I think you probably, for most folks who've been here for quite a while, if you only said, I'm going to give two words and you tell me where it's associated with it, the clock, I will guarantee they're going to say Jessop. How could they not, correct?
Well, my great-grandfather built the clock. He designed it himself.
Wow.
He built it in downtown San Diego. He set up a foundry behind the store in downtown San Diego to cast all of the big, heavy brass parts that are in the clock. And all the smaller parts were handmade in the shop by the bench jewelers. It is truly a task that took place in downtown San Diego, unlike any other clock in the world. The other thing about the clock is that my great-grandfather was a watchmaker. When he designed the clock, he designed it as a giant pocket watch.
That's right.
And it's one of the only clocks, or the only clock in the world, that has that kind of a movement in it. So it is completely unique to San Diego in many different ways. 1907 is when the clock was first placed on the street in downtown San Diego.
Now, was it placed in the spot which it was, I can't say is, because this it was now, I think, Horton Plaza?
No. It was always on Fifth Avenue.
Got it.
And it actually had 3 different locations in Fifth Avenue. The final location, finally, the Jessop family bought a building in downtown San Diego at 1041 Fifth Avenue. And the clock was there for almost 50 years.
Right. And then when did it go over to Horton Plaza?
1985.
Okay.
The Jessop store moved to Horton Plaza, and they moved the clock so that the clock was right in front of the store in Horton Plaza. A great location for it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You could not miss it. Gorgeous. I mean, it's maybe I'm being a little dramatic on this, but it is like the Statue of Liberty, but in San Diego, seriously, with this clock. People wanted to see it. People wanted to flock to it. People knew where it was. So now, what happened to the clock?
Well, Drew, people did flock to it. There are few things in San Diego that have been around for as long as the Jessop clock, or that are as iconic as the Jessop clock is. By 2014, the family realized that we needed to move it out of Horton Plaza. We didn't move it out fast enough, and in 2018, it was vandalized.
Horrible.
Within a week after it having been vandalized, I had it boxed up and moved it into storage, and it was there through COVID and all those rough years for everybody. In the meantime, I had been talking to a fellow named Tom Fetter, and Tom was very involved in the History Center, and he kept calling me and saying, Jim, you need to bring your clock into the History Center. And we'd go over and we'd walk around, and where would we place it and how would we do it? And finally, Tom said, look, let me bring Hal Sadler in. Now, Hal Sadler is a very distinguished architect, or was a very distinguished architect in San Diego. And Hal pulled out a yellow pencil and a pad and started doing his sketches. And next thing he knew, we had a circular stairway around the clock right in the middle of the San Diego History Center. And the slight variations, that is the idea that the History Center is now building toward. And they are almost halfway raising their $40 million goal to rebuild the History Center with the Jessop clock right in the center of it.
No, it's very, very exciting. We're chatting with Jim Jessop of the Jessop Family. He's a trustee of the San Diego History Center and the managing partner of the Jessop Clock LLC. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest-running community podcast. Now in our 20th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. For 60 plus years, they've been doing great things in San Diego County, whether it's financial literacy, it's working with the homeless, it's working with arts groups, and just a great partner. So it's all part of, and I should know this being a steward, maybe I'll get my stewardship taken away for not knowing this, for God's sake.
Never.
That's right. Thank you. I appreciate that, Jim. Like I said, Jim said my mind's not going to be taken away, Bill, for making this idiot comment. So this whole $40 million fundraising is going to culminate in a couple of years. Is that correct?
Well, yes. The History Center developed out the space that they're in 1977.
That's right.
And believe it or not,
Historical Society, what it first was called.
And it was the San Diego Historical Society, and then now is the San Diego History Center.
Exactly.
believe it or not, since 1977, technology and everything has changed a lot. And so they're really bringing the History Center up to the 20th century. So we're 21st century. So we're going to be all records will be digitized. We'll be able to access for people very quickly any information they want to know about San Diego history or about their personal families in San Diego. There's just so much information that the History Center has collected up over the last 100 years. And now we're going to really place it into a great medium, which is going to be the new History Center.
No, it's great. It's right in Balboa Park. So it's in a perfect location on Prado, right on the way, depending which way you're walking, right? You either can walk to the fountain by the Fleet Center, or you can be walking over to the Museum of Art. It's a great location. Balboa Park, to tell you this, and with the history of the Jessops, is a jewel. That's the understatement. And I think, because we can't talk enough about Balboa Park on our show, whether it's the Friends of Balboa Park or, the Forever Balboa Park, the new name of the group that's working on this, it's a treasure, just like the Jessop Clock is. How closely do you work with groups like Forever Balboa Park? Obviously, you're working very closely with the History Center. Are you working with any of the other organizations?
Personally, I'm not working with the other organizations, but the History Center, all of the community organizations within the park are very close and work very close together on all sorts of problems. And everybody's trying to fundraise, and the History Center is right in that category also.
Yeah, exactly. When we come back from break, Jim, I want to talk about some of the fundraising efforts, what our listeners can do to help push the History Center over this the finish line, so to speak, in this area. And, anything else you want to add where people should get engaged with the History Center or with the Jessop Clock certainly will be appreciated. We always save time in the second half of the interview for asking what we can do when we come right back after this short break.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest-running community podcast. We are in our 20th year, brought to you by the fine folks at Mission Fed Credit Union. So honored to have in the studio with us today Jim Jessop. He is a trustee of the San Diego History Center and the managing partner of the Jessop Clock. And yes, it is that Jessop who we are chatting with. Jim, really just an honor to have you in the studio.
You're way too nice, Drew. Appreciate it.
No, listen, it's well-deserved. I mean, listen, you guys are such an unbelievable fabric of our community. You are heavily involved in the History Center. Bill Lawrence has just done a wonderful job, and everybody that's involved in that. You mentioned Tom Fetter. Tom Fetter foolishly recommended for me to be on with the advisory committee of the History Center, so we got to go check Tom for that one. But obviously, just a huge supporter of the History Center Historical Society when it started. But talk about how important the History Center is, not only just for the Jessop Clock, but for San Diego.
The History Center is unique to San Diego. Few cities have a collection of artifacts and of paperwork and of stories by prominent San Diegans who have now passed away, recordings of those people. Few organizations have that depth of information. For 100 years, the San Diego History Center has been collecting that information. And it is a fabulous wealth that the city has. We have a great location right on the Prado in Balboa Park. We're now going to take advantage of that location and use it in a way that not only complements the park, because everybody knows that's an absolute requirement,
Correct.
but will really complement the wealth that San Diego has in the History Center. And we are raising a lot of money in order to completely renew that building and bring it up to the 21st century.
Yeah, exactly. And so is there a website where they can go if people want to contribute to this?
There absolutely is. The website is sandiegohistory.org. Simple as that. On that website, you can find out what we're doing. You can get more information about the History Center itself. You even can go to the area in donation that talks about the Jessop Clock, and you can make a donation directly to the Jessop Clock. Or better still, make two donations, one to the History Center and one to the clock.
Yeah, and again, I think people want to hear about, because I get questions every so often that where is that clock? I can say, but no, you can't go over to it. Jim doesn't have it in his house in a closet, for God's sake. It is secured probably by some armored guards and all that business, but it's going to be wonderful when that is brought out. There'll be a huge celebration, of course. History Center, near and dear to me in the sense that Historical Society, when it started, I worked for the San Diego Union Tribune for many, many years, running community and public relations. And so the Bob Whitties, the Karn Winners, who I worked with,
Sure.
I was on the dark side. I was on the business side. I wasn't on the print side. I was on the print side for another newspaper, for God's sake. But the Historical Society has all of those past editions of the UT, 1868 is when we were publishing our first newspaper in Old Town, for God's sake, and you can actually see the very first press of the Union at the time back then. So when you mentioned history, Jim, certainly the Jessop family, iconic family, the history, but the Union Tribune is in there too.
Well, the UT is certainly in there, no question about it. But the San Diego, my great-grandfather started the store in 1892. In 1892, there was about 16,000 people in the city of San Diego. And he started a store selling watches. 16,000 people will not support a watch store. So he had to find some other way to support himself, while his son, who wanted to be a jeweler, brought jewelry into the store. By about 1920, the city of San Diego had about 75,000 people in it. So the city had grown up around the Jessop store, and the Jessop store grew with San Diego.
So did you not follow your great-grandfather with jewelry at all, or watchmaking or clocks?
No, not watchmaking or clocks, but with jewelry.
Okay.
As a little kid in junior high school, what I wanted to be was a jeweler. I wanted to go to work at Jessop's. And I ended up in business with my father. After he sold the Jessop store, he spun off and started his own store. I joined him, and I did that for 44 years before finally closing it, including I bought back Jessop's in the meantime.
Right.
So when I closed the Jessop store in 2018, it was the last Jessop jewelry store in San Diego.
Right. What junior high did you go to?
Junior high,
Correa?
Roosevelt.
Oh, you went right by the zoo. Okay,
Yeah.
very, very good. And you went to Point Loma High. You said?
Point Loma High, yeah.
Point Loma High. Okay. What elementary school, can I ask?
Grant School.
I know exactly where Grant is. I worked for San Diego Unified 1 billion years ago. So
when you stay around San Diego long enough, you know all those great old sites.
Right, exactly. What do you love most about the clock? Obviously, its uniqueness. There's no question about it, and obviously tied to your family's just storied history. What else about that clock?
It's a very complex machine, and it has some very unique problems. And my great-grandfather figured out ways to solve all of those problems. And in the course of learning about the clock, I've seen him solve those problems. The other interesting thing is that there is a little bear inside the clock. Now, the bear is a little piece of carved redwood, and when the clock was taken up in 1907 to the California State Fair, the story is that a little child stuffed the bear into the movement, and it has stayed there ever since. I'm convinced that's really not the case. My great-grandfather brought the clock back with the little bear in the movement, but the reason for the bear was not because a child had stuffed it there, was because he found that when people were looking for the bear, they would spend that extra minute or minute and a half looking at the movement. And they would come away from looking at the movement, seeing things that they hadn't seen and wouldn't have seen if they hadn't made that special study. And it's those kind of tricks in marketing that my great-grandfather did.
So let me ask you this. So now it's this intricate clock, one of a kind. Okay, your great-grandfather built it. How hard is it to maintain?
It stood outdoors for 107 years.
Right.
And it was built like a pocket watch. Well, you set any pocket watch out in the elements for 100 years, and you're going to have a pile of rust.
Right.
The Jessop clock has held together really well. The margins between the gears have opened up over 100 years of operating, and that needs to be corrected in the clock. We've got a lot of work that we're going to need to do to bring the clock back up to speed as the Jessop family gives the clock to the History Center. It was all handmade back in 1905, 1906. Now, hopefully, as we make these parts, we can do them in CAD, cast them in brass, and not have to have the handmade parts that currently are in the Jessop clock.
So you're going to have to fly somebody in from Switzerland that can actually be intimate with this? It wouldn't be Drew Schlosberg working on this, I imagine, right?
You know, I have found a clockmaker in San Diego, a fellow by the name of Paul Smith. Paul has got the ability to think with his hands as he's working. He works faster than any person working on a machine you have ever seen. When he took over the clock, he realized he had a unique clock, and it took him about an hour to look at the clock and think it through and see what was happening and figure out how to service the clock.
Wow.
He then completely tore the clock down, serviced it, lubricated everything. We refinished all the gold plating in the clock, and he put it all back together again. And then it ran for another 30 years. So we're ready to do that again. And fortunately, I can still call on Paul to do that kind of work for me.
Wow, that is going to be very, very exciting. Is there a date in mind where you're going to raise the rest of the money and now you're going to have this grand opening of the sort of History Center 2.0, whatever you're going to call it? Is there a date in mind?
2028 will be the 100th anniversary for the History Center. And that is the goal, to have the building completed. Now, there's a lot to getting to that completion. However, we've started raising money. We've calculated we need to raise about $40 million.
Right, between now and then.
Well, and by the end of this year, with just a little bit of luck, we should be halfway there.
Oh, that's fantastic.
People know about the History Center, and people are pleased to give to a wonderful cause like that.
Well, and attaching the clock to it, because everyone loves that clock, is got to be huge.
As I said before, the clock is iconic to San Diego, like many of the other things in the History Center. Its History Center is very unique, and so is the clock, and they will support each other.
Right. And to your point, why don't you shout out that website one more time with the San Diego History Center?
It is simply all one word, San Diego History. No spaces between any of those words. .org.
Right, and what Jim was saying earlier, should make a double contribution. You can make a contribution to the History Center itself and also to the Jessop Clock. Listen, to say it was an honor chatting with you would be an understatement, Jim. Thank you for coming in.
Before you let me leave, let me tell you that the Jessop family used to laugh among themselves and say that the Jessop Clock had a lifetime warranty. And there's a dash there, and it says the Jessop Family. As the family gives the clock to the History Center, we need to establish an annuity to continue to support the clock. That's our intent.
Yeah, and I think that's going to happen. A pleasure chatting with you, wishing you nothing but great success. I will guarantee you, hopefully my show will still be going on in 2028. It's been going on for a while already in this area, that it'll be fun when we sit across from each other, and you're going to say, Drew, we now can announce that we've raised all the money, and in about a month and a half, we're going to open the doors.
Let's write that date on the calendar and get it done. That'll be fun.
It'll be my pleasure. Jim Jessop, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
You bet. Jim Jessop, he is a trustee of the San Diego History Center and the managing partner of the Jessop Clock. Yes, it is the Jessop family that Jim is about. His great-grandfather is the one who built the clock. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. You've been listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. We are the nation's longest-running community podcast. We hope you enjoyed the interview.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.